Hey, everybody, welcome to Fierce Fabulous Fridays, produced by the Girls Who Print. We are now open to everybody, so make sure to invite your friends of any gender specification. Animals are welcome too, puppies, cats. We don't discriminate against anybody, although keep the macaws out. They have a tendency to get uppity. So today we have an interesting conversation that really is probably coming at a great time because we are at a crossroads, people. There's a lot of decisions that are about to be made in families and careers and office buildings, and who's going back to work, who's not going back to work, who's going to school, who's not going to school. The summer is winding down. I mean, yes, we have another month of August, but if you're in the printing business, it's even going to be harder to get in touch with customers. And with all of that, Kelly wanted to have a conversation with everybody about engaging with authenticity and abundance. And it's really focused on getting your mind right for what we're dealing with and what maybe arming yourself with some tools or some thoughts in order to keep you on track for what we need to do while this cyclone of activity is going on around us. And I think it was Lily Harder or Suchi who said, we're all in the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat. And that has resonated with me so much because, yes, we all have the same waves crashing upon us, but my boat is different than yours. I have a different crew. I've got different ways I can row it or power it. And I have to focus on my boat just as much as I have to focus on not hitting yours or maybe pulling you into mine if you need help. Or, I'm all of a sudden I'm a nautical, analogist, but I just wanted to set the tone a little. And now Kelly, who is, by the way, let me just go back to Kelly for one moment. I refer to Kelly Mallozzi as the sales coach to the stars. We've known each other for years and years and years. Kelly is girl number 2 at Girls Who Print. She has been helping me revamp the organization since, after Mary Beth Smith left the day-to-day sort of operations of it, and really has helped me grown the group exponentially. She's the one who was matching people on the mentorship site and helping everybody to connect with people. Obviously keeps these conversations going throughout the industry through all of her channels. She's a fabulous advocate for the women in print, let alone an experienced sales coach who really approaches things, I think, in a practical manner. To Kelly, it matters as much as who you are and how you present what your opportunities are as much as what you sell. And there's no better person to be leading this conversation. So sorry for that long-winded introduction, Kelly, but you deserved it. And I'm going to toss it over to you now, and I'm going to mute myself unless you need me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And not only am I blushing, but it's also 80 degrees in my basement right now. So that's why I'm looking a little flushed. But it is a real honor to be here for, I know a lot of you and you've all been coming very regularly, which we really appreciate. Couple things about me, I guess. I hail from the great state of Michigan, and I've been living in the East Coast for the last 5 years. So I am a Midwestern transplant over here to the East Coast. But I've been selling printing for the better part of 25 years, even though it's very difficult for me to admit that. I've also sold production equipment to printers. So basically my whole grown-up life has been in the printing industry, and it's been an amazing ride. As Deb mentioned, I've been doing sales coaching and marketing mentoring and things like that for the last decade. So it is a real honor to be here. And so today, as we were talking about, really the kind of the three legs of a triangle of mindset and abundance and authenticity. So with that, I'm just going to start sharing my screen and show you a very, very brief presentation that I created. And so the way I'm gonna do this is break it into 3 pieces. So I'll talk for a couple of minutes, and then I'm gonna open it back up and encourage you all to share your cameras and your microphones. So the first thing I want to do, though, in this three-legged triangle is talk about mindset. And so I did a little research, and I've been really thinking about what's the difference between attitude and mindset. And this quote really resonated with me quite a lot, because it really talks about really looking at where you are today and where you want to go, and that for almost everybody that I know, what we think and how we think is really what's getting in our way more than just about everything. And so really that's where I wanted to start. And it's kind of the idea of what mindset means. Because again, I think in a little bit of a way, I'm preaching to the choir a little bit, because everybody that shows up here shows up because they're interested in continually improving themselves. So this has to do with not only ourselves, but how we lead by example, how we interact with our customers, how we interact with our colleagues, and even applies to our personal lives as well. So one of the things that I've been talking about a lot lately is that the current situation is kind of how we deal with it is the intersection between acceptance and adaptation. So when we talk about running into an obstacle, we kind of accept that things are the way that they are, and then we have to adapt to decide where we want to go next and how we're going to move on from it. And so, in a different way of just having a positive attitude and always being glass half full and being an optimist, mindset really has to do with 6 things. It has to do with optimism, which again is that optimism is that glass half full kind of positive attitude, but it's also, as I just mentioned, acceptance, accepting that we don't have the power to make COVID go away. We don't have the power to decide whether our kids are going to school full time or whether they're staying home and distance learning. There's a lot of things that are beyond our control right now, and that's super hard, but this is one of the things that accepting it is just deciding that this is the fact, and I'm going to then decide where my strategy goes from there. Beyond that is resilience, how we bounce back from things, how we deal. And that's something that, we talk about with younger generations, and we talk about creating grit, and we talk about resilience is how we teach our children, but we really have to think about it as far as how we deal and how we bounce back from things as well. Another big one that I tend to really focus on very internally is gratitude, that even among very difficult situations, there are still things to be grateful for. So even in the face of, Deb's analogy about the boat is really, really a powerful one, because you're right. Some people are rowing in a dinghy that's got a hole in it, and some people are riding in, mega yachts. And so still being able to, no matter where you are in life, figure out a way to reflect on gratitude for your health or for your home or your family or your friends or your dog or whatever it is a crucial element to adapting to a positive mindset. And then the last 2 elements of that are mindfulness. So again, being in our minds and just being aware and conscious of things. And even if you're like me and you find yourself kind of going down these obsessive rabbit holes sometimes where you just can't stop thinking about something, it's being able to find mechanisms to distract yourself, whether it's get up and walk around or listen to a piece of music or whatever it is to stop yourself from being in those kind of drain circling downward spirals. And the final one is integrity. And that is kind of a, regardless of everything that's going on, I still make decisions that I'm proud of. I still live in a world where I can feel good about the decisions and the way that I behave, and consequently the way my company behaves too. So that's kind of the cornerstone piece of where mindset plays into all of this. So the first question that I want to talk about again is the words that we use in our own communications, the way we behave on social media, how we talk to our customers, how we talk to our colleagues, how we talk about our colleagues and our customers. I'm sure you've all been in situations. I just observed this the other day where I was dropping off 2 of my kids at this art camp, and the teacher, and I said, "Oh, I'm having them come these days," and she's like, the owner doesn't have any idea what's going on anyway, so just don't even worry about it. And I thought, these are the kinds of organizational problems that we want to address, and we can talk about this a little bit more in the discussion, but it really is, you know, making sure that our employees and as employees, we're projecting, you know, the right kind of image about what's going on in our companies and that kind of thing. And I mean, this line, you cannot talk like a failure and expect to be successful. I can't emphasize enough, as women, that we refer to ourselves with very complimentary adjectives, and that we insist on being viewed as strong and capable and leaders and things like that. So with that,
Kel,
yeah.
I'm not sure if you had intended for yourself to be sharing a screen, but there has not been a screen share
Oh my gosh.
for this
All
time.
right. Thank you for telling me that.
I wasn't sure if that needed to happen.
It did.
Now it's
However,
sharing.
I can absolutely punch from that and recover, because
Sorry about that.
that's no, it's all
You
good.
just said, and this quote, I was like, oh, I think she meant to share a screen.
Okay, I did. So I've been it's so funny. I've been looking at my full screen of my deck and
Right.
talking to you, and that always throws me off, not being able to
Yeah.
see your faces, but I hope I
Sorry.
got through that okay. No.
No, it was
So
great. I think it'll be helpful for
the
people to
replay,
have the list, and also for that. And I'm not sure if you're sharing your slides, but if you are, then we
I
can
will be
figure that out.
more than happy to share my slides.
Thanks. I'm going to
And
mute myself again. Sorry, I didn't tell
okay,
you sooner.
I really, really appreciate you telling me that. And you know, I always prefer not to actually use slides, but I feel like, especially people like Sandy Hubbard, I think, and even your one last week, Deb, the slides were so very simple and basic, but it was a really good kind of jumping off point for the discussions. But this actually, just this quote here came from a Google search from about quotes about mindset, and then I discovered this author, and now of course that book is on my list of things to read. But I think I emphasized the point about how important what we think and what's in our brains are informing us. And then there we go with mindset. And this quote from a woman named Germany Kent, who I'm sorry to admit, I didn't know who she was, but she's written 10 books, and she's a journalist and has been on television and looks to be somebody that I really want to get to know a little bit better. But again, that notion of making sure that we refer to ourselves in ways that are very positive. So with that, the question that I want to open it back up to, and I'll stop sharing my screen, is in what ways have you changed your mindset or your attitude recently? Now, I don't want to pigeonhole us in that discussion of just if it's not something that's recent, but if you have strong feelings about any of that, this would be a great time to hear what you have to say. So everybody can unmute and share your screens if you wish.
Yay.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Krista. Hey. All right, so who has comments for Kelly?
To reiterate the question about how have you changed your mindset or your attitude? How have you changed the way you've been thinking lately to help cope with any, and it doesn't even have to be a business situation either. It can be a personal situation as well. Deb, we had kind of a long conversation leading up to this call.
I mean, for me, honestly, and I'm not like, I'm not a Debbie Downer, even though my name is Deborah, but I am reality based. And in that reality based situation, there are certain things that I admit to myself. Like every day I'm going to wake up and not make any money today. That's a fact for me right now. So I can wallow in that. Somebody's having some interference.
Yeah.
I can wallow in, who do we think that is?
I don't.
Somebody in an office or something. Okay. I can wallow in that and maybe not get out of bed, or I can say to myself, what can I do to change that situation? And is there something positive I can do to help somebody else? And can I plant seeds for relationships that I will need on the other end of this, and what are those relationships that I'm going to need on the other end of this. And I've just kind of refocused on what I think is important right now. And right now, I think that the only way to it was Krista. The only way
Oh, sorry.
to to deal with it, that I can do it in a productive way, is to grow the army of people who want to look at things differently, who want to approach things differently, who have opened their mind to expanding their services, as Jessica will help us with next week, in order to really take themselves out of their usual talk tracks, and kind of find people who are willing to explore and look at crazy ideas, because I'm in the crazy idea business. So I have had to change the way I think about things, and the way that I'm going to grow my audience now is not the same way I was able to do it before, because people are in different boats now, and I can't understand. I'm not the type of person that like Kelly, that focuses on each individual person and each individual boat. I'm at the Hurricane Command Center, trying to help all the boats navigate the storm at the same time and not crash into each other. So we all have different roles to play here. So I'm not sure if that prompts anybody else for some discussion points, but Jessica's hand is up.
Yep,
Yes, Jessica.
Okay, first, I just want to say I love this group. I had no idea there were so many women in print, because I've been in the print industry since I was just a baby, and I absolutely love it. So I'm so excited. And this topic is like right up my jam, because I think a lot of us, we had our wallow party, our pity party in March, and we drank too much wine, we ate too much dessert, and we kind of sat around and we were sad. And that's fine, because that's human nature. But what we figured out, my husband's in the print industry too, is that we can either sit around and wallow, or we can change everything about everything we can control. And what we did is we just made conscious efforts, and we changed all of our habits. We changed, did the miracle morning, and changed everything about how we're eating, how we feel our body, because that immediately affected our brain. Believe it or not, that it had room to not be so sad. And so all of those things, making room for physical activity, all of a sudden you feel a lot less sorry for yourself when you have endorphins in your brain. And it made room for other possibilities in life, because if one job is going to stop, then where do you find others? How can you still spread your years and decades of knowledge to other people? And how do you show up every single day for your family in what is a scary time, but you can't control it and you can't change it? And so that's kind of been what we've done, is what we call habit stacking. So we use our discipline to create one new habit, because discipline's hard, right? To create that one new habit, whether it was waking up early, changing our food, whatever. And then once it became a habit, we kind of moved on. That's a habit. Okay, no more carbs. Let's use that discipline for something else. And it's been a 90-day process, or however long, until we got out of our sappy slump. But that's been kind of everything we put our brain and effort into, because I'm not going to make a virus go away, and we're on heavy lockdown here with our health. And so, that's kind of where we've been focusing. And I feel like mindset is everything. And your habits do create what you think about.
So true. So Betty did mention, I'm not sure if it's Betty or Bet, but wanting to be able to write about different aspects of the printing industry. I mean, that's essentially one of the ways I started my consulting practice, was starting to blog for Printing Impressions magazine, and just starting, that's the way I created the name Success in Print. I was still working for Canon at the time, and I started the blog because a couple people encouraged me and said, you have a lot to share, like you should start talking. And I didn't even really understand, oh, you can just open up a WordPress blog and start blogging, or you can find content partners that will push out stuff for you. It's how I blog for Deb, and it's how I blog for Printing Impressions and things like that. So there are definitely people that want to hear what you have to say. It's finding what your audience is and figuring out how to get to them. But even LinkedIn itself, you can create articles right in LinkedIn and push that out to all of your, your followers and things like that. and then figure out ways to repurpose that content. But anybody who says they want to write, I'm like, do it. There's definitely stuff that you have that's valuable, that people want. And yes, as Christine just mentioned, I mean, Deb, I know you constantly get asked to contribute. The manufacturers ask for content, the paper companies ask for content, the associations ask for content. There's a lot of places out there that are looking for your voice. So who else has anything they want to say? Jessica, I love what you said about the fact that, Sherry, the physical stuff is really important too. I couldn't run for a really long time, so I walked, and that was the not being able to run thing was really hard for me. And that adaptation, again, the acceptance and the adaptation. Deb and I were just even talking about the fact that I've been sitting on a really uncomfortable chair for 4 months, and it finally took me to go, you have a couch here, girl. Why are you not sitting on the couch? Like, duh, and the idea that, yeah, I can't run because my kids are home. There's so many things, but you just figure, it's like Jessica said, it's a pivot, it's a pivot till it becomes a habit. Then it becomes ingrained in you. And those kinds of things can be applied to, I'm going to do research 30 minutes a day to identify one new prospect, or I'm going to connect with 5 people a day, because I know the more people I know, I mean, I feel like if I could sit with Sherry and drink a glass of bourbon with her right now, we would be best friends, like, and
Well, get in line.
That's a little bit about what I talk about gratitude and things like that too. So I think Sherry had something to say, and then Aleka.
And then Aleka, yeah.
So if you're talking about mindset, I think, for me, I struggled today because I was actually going to post on LinkedIn about this, but it's really personal. And I always struggle with, like, is it too personal? Today is not just our month end, not our quarter end. Today's actually my year end. We run on a fiscal year, and today's the end of my year. And normally today is like Christmas Eve for us. So I had to come into my team on a day that should feel like Christmas Eve, and for us, it feels like a funeral, right? So on a day that normally we would be so pumped and we'd be so excited, and today it's kind of like, oh man. And so I think for me, I spent a lot of time earlier in the week thinking about how I was going to talk to everyone about the fact that, like, look, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to look at this like we've lost and this is not failure. This is nothing we could do. So I always say to people, you either survive or you thrive. And I've sort of changed my thought process on that, in that in order to thrive, we have to survive. So for me, my thing has always been that those had to compete with each other. And right now, the survive is what's ultimately going to cause us to thrive. And I'm really trying to change everyone's mindset about that.
Genius.
Yeah. So she is like the phrase coiner of all phrase coiners, I think. Sherry.
She's a t-shirt generator.
She is. Aleka, did you have something you wanted to say?
I did. What about, I am like a type A workaholic. I dream work. I think about work. I can't sleep at night. So when I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I had a notebook and I write down my phrases. So yesterday I did something that I took a day off. I went to the beach, and I felt guilty at first about it. And I felt like I even took a couple calls. And then at one point I said, everyone needs a mental break and a balance to regroup and mentally prioritize what we all need individually as well as collectively. So why do I still feel guilty that I took a day off?
Yeah. Why is the work why is the value of the work so much more important than you? Of course you deserve to sit at the beach for a day. Of course, that is amazing to me. I talked to one gentleman a couple of years ago who said he hadn't taken a vacation in like 20 something years. And I was like, when it all comes down to the end, is that really like what you want to have said? Like, you were more loyal to that company than you were to your own soul.
And I read
Deb doesn't like that.
I read a book on business at the beach where I just was going to just escape. And somebody walked by and looked at my book, and it was a book by virtual meetings and working remote. And somebody looked at what I was reading, and I said, oh, how much fun is that? And I'm like, it is. But that's it.
Did someone else have a comment? question? Christine? Arno, you had unmuted yourself? No? Yes.
I am unmuted, I think. How's
then-
everyone this beautiful
we'll go to
Friday
Andrew.
afternoon?
Lovely.
Hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good, thank you. And thank you all for sharing. And, you know, Kelly, the mindset is a powerful, powerful thing. It affects everything in our lives. And a lot of people don't realize how much the mind affects your physical body. The stress that all of us have felt over the last 4 months has just been something that we've never, ever had to deal with before. All of us cooped up in the house with spouses and dogs and children and everybody else that we've never had to do before. I have been very fortunate that I can escape in my backyard, work on my gardening and landscape, and that has been my solstice during all of this. If I had to do my life over again, I would be in, you know, horticulture. That's my zen. And Aleka, I'm just the opposite. I love not working and I don't want to work, but I know I have to work. So I'm trying to change my mindset to get my mindset back into business. I have not been working for most of the last 4 months. I am fortunate that I had a great Q1 in my business, and that's been carrying me through. I got an email message this morning from a prospect that I had proposed. Actually, it was late last fall, and he kind of went dark over the new year, and all of a sudden he needs help.
Okay.
And he's a printer in Rhode Island, so the printers do need help out there. And if you have resources and opportunities with your talents and interests. I know Summer and I have connected, and through this Girls Who Print and Fierce Fabulous Fridays, there is a network out there that we can all support each other. And I think it was Betty asking about, you know, mentoring, and we all have to support each other. And Jessica, you know, you hit the nail on the head, and just changing that mindset to form those new habits. So I'll stop there, but nice to see everyone on a
Thank
Friday.
you.
Thanks,
I
Christine.
think Edith, I think,
Yes,
yeah, I was going
yes,
to say, I
our
thought
new
Edith had
person.
something.
Go, Edith.
Oh, hi everyone. So everything that you say is incredibly relevant to me, and it's things that I have been focusing on also. I have been in transition since the end of last year. After a 21-year career at a company, I bought printing, and I managed a team of print buyers. And then obviously COVID hit, so all of a sudden you feel very isolated. But what really resonated with me is focusing on gratitude, because networking was not one of my strong suits at all. And through this whole process of getting myself out there and starting to network, I have found incredible groups. I'm really glad. I think Carol's on this call. She's the one who introduced me, sent me the link the other day. Yeah, but it just amazes me how people are so willing to give unselfishly of their time to help each other out. I mean, we might all be competing for similar work or jobs or something like that, but it doesn't matter. They take the time to connect with you on, whether it's on LinkedIn or through these Zoom forums and things like that. So I have to say thank you to, you know, all of you for number one, accepting me today. And then just that gratitude then just energizes me to go to the next day and do the next things that are on my list. So, and Aleka, I have to say, you're allowed to reward yourself with a day off. I make my list, and if I get through the end of the list and I allow myself to do something that is absolutely not related to job searching or anything, it's something just for me. So
I love
Thank
that.
you.
Like there's a light at the end of the tunnel that you give yourself. Philomena wants to comment.
Got to unmute yourself.
Let me see if I can help.
Oops, hold on.
There you go. Nope. Sit. We got it. Get Philomena. We're not going to touch it. You unmute yourself.
I'm trying.
You got it.
Sorry.
Nope. Now you undid it. There you go.
Okay. Am I good?
Yes, you're good. Welcome.
Nice to see you again. How are you?
Good. And you?
I'm okay. So, hi, Kelly. We've never met. But
Hi.
how you
I'm
doing?
very glad to see you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, I guess I joined this. I want to say thank you because I joined this because I don't really have a lot of positive things to share in how to motivate myself. But I guess what I'm saying is that having heard all of you, I'm not feeling so bad anymore about the state of my own existence these days. And I think what Deborah said about waking up and realizing you're not going to make any money today, that kind of resonates.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say thank you. And it's nice to see all of you. It's just so hard these days. Like I had a ton of, I'm sure you're all in the same boat, but I had a ton of work lined up in March, and in one day, it all just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
And coming back from that is like, it's really hard to motivate yourself to see all the work that you've done over the past 2 years basically be undone in a matter of a couple of days.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And to remind yourself that the entire world is going through that. So Philomena, what you said is like, it's almost like being together makes you feel better because you're hearing other stories of
Yeah.
survival and mindset and things like that. But at the same time, it is like, sometimes that's the thing I have to remind myself is the entire world is going through this. It's like, girl, you're not alone. Not only are you not alone in this town or the state or the city or the country, it's the whole world. And so that is, for what it's worth. But I want to move on because actually Edith gave us a really nice segue into the next portion of this. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
good. So the next part of this triangle is authenticity. And Deborah taught me a few years ago about the importance of education as being the end-all be-all reason for communicating with any particular audience. And that's a really, really difficult thing, I think, for salespeople to glom onto, especially, from a sales and marketing perspective. We always want to go, hey, look at me, I've got this iron and I just got this new piece of equipment and I know this and I can do this. But really the idea of business authenticity is about giving. And that's exactly what Edith just said, which is, we're a very giving community, and you've been so surprised and encouraged by how many people have been showing up in this kind of place of giving. Those of us who are, doing Zoom calls all the time and creating content and being there for each other and mentoring each other and things like that, that this is going to really be a cornerstone of how people make decisions about who they want to do business with going forward, is that idea of authenticity. And I'll give you an example. So I worked for a printer, and that was, part of the prospecting process is you write a letter and then you make phone calls. And this was even really not before email, but we certainly weren't using email to communicate as much as we do today. And my boss wanted to see what I was writing, and he brings me my letter back and he's like, I don't like this. There's too much of you in it. Like, and that was the moment, I think, where I knew I wasn't going to last there much longer, because I was like, me in it is how I get jobs. Like, me in it, my voice and my personality and my everything about who I am is why people decide to do business with me. And so that kind of was a real turning point for me. And this discussion about authenticity could go on for a really long time, especially as it pertains to generations and things like that. But when you think about authenticity being realness, and you think about the depth of it, and I think this is probably a good place to really talk about it, is younger people and the generations that are digital natives. It's real easy to go a little deeper beyond what a website says today about what you believe and who you are and what you stand for. It's like, where were you 6 months ago? Where were you a year ago? Or where are you going? Things like that. So again, there's personal authenticity, which is you and your voice and how you communicate and what you put out there into the world. And then there's the authenticity of an organization, what they believe and what what they stand for. And I think we're just, I mean, I'm not a sociologist or, you know, any kind of ologist at all, but I think we're at the tip of the iceberg when it's going to come to how this is messaged, what kind of brands are sending out which messages and which ones find there to be real value in that, especially when it has some substance behind it, that I'm not just saying I believe a certain thing, I'm actually showing that I do. I'm not just saying I care about kids, I actually go and volunteer, you know. I'm not just saying I believe in this thing, I give money to it, or I give time, you know, or talent, things like that. So remembering that it's a tough mindset and shift for people, you know, again, who are used to making a message that focuses on capability and even, you know, even to some extent a story. Whereas a true message of education is, I'm just going to tell you about this for the sake of telling you. I have no vested expectation. I do know that, you know, business karma will say that when you see me as a thought leader and you see me as somebody who is there to bring you good ideas and things of value, ultimately that will come back to me in the form of business. And this is going to tie, you know, really nicely into abundance after we have a little bit of a discussion. So I do want to make sure we leave a little bit of time for that, you know, which is the idea that, you know, sharing is caring and all of that stuff. But it really is important that we're here for the right reasons, which is, you know, to help and be of service. So the question that I want to ask everybody today, and again, you know, I probably want to move on from this in a little less than 10 minutes, but is how can we engage with a greater sense of authenticity? And we have some extreme powerhouses of social prowess when it comes to sharing on this screen right now. But I'd love to hear how any of you are using, you know, kind of authenticity and realness to engage with either colleagues or clients or, you know, anything of that nature.
I could, if I can just offer some perspective to tag on to that while people are gathering their thoughts. I believe it was again Lily Harder who said that it's no longer a return on investment, it's return on involvement. And you know, so when we look at the people that we still want in our ecosystems as we move through this, people say when this ends, good, again, reality based, it's not ending. It's something we're going to have to live with forever now. And we're going to adjust society and adjust our lives to the fact that we live with this thing around us. But in that, there's a lot of advice going around from sales coach type people who approach things a different way than Kelly, that, you know, just keep checking in with your clients and, you know, find out if they have any work and how you can help them. And that's not really an authentic way of checking in with people. A more authentic way might be, for example, I saw you commented on a post on this group that we're in, and here's some additional information I think you would find is interesting. Or I know you're not doing any print buying now, Deborah, but I saw something really cool and I think that your audience might like it. Or, you know, contacting Edith and saying, I know you're not working right now, but I don't want you to get, you know, left out of the fact that this is something I would have told you about a new coding that's out there, just so you have the information whenever you might need it. Now, yes, I'm keeping you in my ecosystem because, to the point, you're salespeople. That's what you do. But on the receiving end of it, because I'm usually on the receiving end of all of this stuff, there are people I can tell who actually care and people I can tell who are just trying to be in my face because they want something from me. And to Kelly's point, you know, that's the same thing when it comes to the social issues that are going on now. A brand like Nike, as Suchi reminded us, will always have authenticity in this because they were first. They were there when everyone told them that people dropped Nike partnerships with them, and they were like, "We don't care. We are staying with supporting Black Lives Matter." And their sales actually went up 23%. Yes, they lost a whole bunch of people, but they gained a whole new audience. And now anything they say about it, everybody believes because they have that track record. So Now's the time where you can start putting those messages out in the world and authentically, to Kelly's point, act on them by what you share, by how you say, by how you interact with other people. So the people you are talking to can get a greater sense of who you are and want to be with you in this storm, and want to be with you as we ride it till whatever foreign shore with the rainbow and, you know, lollipops that everybody thinks we're getting to. Unlike reality-based, Deborah is like, no, it's going to keep spiraling. But so I just wanted to add that, and thank you. And I just have to say one thing about what Jessica said before. My God, where have you been with that? Just change one habit at a time thing. Like, I always I have to do all these things and I get paralyzed. So I'm stealing that from you, and I'm going to act on that today. So thank you so much for that practical advice.
30 days. Give each one 30 days and then move on to a new one.
So good. So who else has any thoughts on authenticity? Sherry?
So, I mean, that has been the way that I built my career. I built my career by being very genuine. When I went in, everything I have ever told a customer, they believed me because I meant it. I've never taken a product to market I didn't buy into. I've never talked about something I didn't absolutely love. And if I tell you I can do something, rest assured, we're going to do it. I've never taken business just to take business. I'm the first vendor who tells all my clients, when you come to me, if I can't do it, I'll tell you I can't do it. And if I know somebody who can, I'll tell you who can do it for you. That is what I believe in. And that is the way I built everything that I've worked on for 12 years, because I think that makes people want to do business with me. And sounds cheesy, but like, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, my thing says, I operate my business on 2 very simple principles. 1, would I want to do business with me? 2, would I want to work for me? And that's it. At the end of the day, I ask myself those questions. And if the answer is yes, then I'm doing it right. So that's how I react to things. So that's my authentic self.
Good.
Although I'm editing all my curse words, which is really my true authentic self, because I've recently gotten in trouble for that.
Who else?
Sherry Shares is killing me with the good advice today.
Brianna, it looks like Brianna has something to say.
Go
ahead, Brianna.
So I guess kind of being new, almost into a year into the print industry, I never really thought to talk to my customers, I guess, in a way that wasn't authentic. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe it's because I'm a girl, I don't know, but I always felt that anyone I talked to, it wasn't me, or it wasn't my true self. I always felt like I was always bringing myself to the table, and whoever gave me the opportunity to talk to, they were really truly meeting the real person. And right now, my customers are in New Jersey and New York, so I've been hit pretty hard as far as communicating. And I don't know if you guys have this book yet.
Mm-mm.
You guys have it, but we were, Sabby came and presented to us maybe last week, and they said that they would be more than happy to give this presentation to our customers. And so I've been reaching out to all my customers saying, hey, this is a great resource on direct mail. You can learn so much, blah, blah, blah. Let me organize it for you and we can set it up. And Sappy will send them this book and everything else and do the presentation. So I thought that was a great way, not selling, but being a resource.
Excellent. I actually spoke to somebody about this morning and made that same suggestion that, and it was with paper companies. I'm like, paper companies have the best information. Everybody loves paper companies. And if you're a printer and you can't get in touch with your customers, hold an event with a paper company and you'll see how fast those customers start talking to you again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in part, without this going into a discussion about generations, I mean, Brianna, part of in the research that I did when it came to authenticity, it did talk about how the millennial generation and the Gen Z generation, authenticity is something that they just demand and expect as part of what needs to be baked into messaging and into the, the existence of cultures. And that is just, I'm sure you all know this, but that's anybody under the age of 40 at this point. The oldest millennials are 40 now. So these are not young, these are not children, these are not people who are just getting their careers started. These are people with C level in front of their names. It's pretty interesting. And another
Could
thing,
have kids.
yeah. And I, you know, it's also, and again, this is a whole different discussion, but I always think like, I'm 50, so where I was raised on like Bugs Bunny and cartoons that were very, you know, violent and crazy, but younger people are raised on a steady diet of empathy, right? They're raised on, we need to go help. Dora was always helping. The Wonder Pets were always helping in learning and things like that. And so it really is. But again, the reason that these two things and what I'm about to talk about are so intermingled is because Sherry believes in abundance. This isn't just about authenticity. Sherry, I'm putting words in your mouth entirely, and you can tell me if you disagree with this or not. Basically, the idea of abundance, if I was really going to make it kind of harsh, is don't do me any favors, right? Do business with me if you like what you see. Do business with me if you like what you hear. Do business with me if you believe me, trust me. But you know what? I will easily move on to the next person if you don't like this. Like, that's abundance. And so I'm gonna real quick go back to sharing for the remainder of this very quickly, because I know I have to admit I didn't read or hear this phrase until I was fully an adult and at a wedding. Did I hear this? Work like you don't need the money, love like you've never been hurt, dance like nobody's watching.
It's always a toast.
Yeah, it was a toast at the rehearsal dinner, absolutely. And I know it's way played out and super simple, but I think in many ways it really does speak to what abundance means, which is, and I also do know that from a business perspective, abundance, and again, I don't want to conflate this, but it is about not necessarily privilege, but you have to, when you believe in abundance, you know that you have enough, right? That there's enough business out there. I mean, this is what I say to all my clients, like, there is more business out there than you can get your hands on. You just have to identify it, engage with it, and convince it. You know, you just have, that's the situation is, and, you know, again, Deb and I sat on a call the other day with, you know, one person who was kind of down and another person who's like, this is a choice. But believing in a place of being in a place of abundance is absolutely a choice that you make, because the opposite of abundance is scarcity. And when you allow yourself to speak from a place of scarcity, act from a place of scarcity, and even strategize from a place of scarcity, that's going to take you somewhere where you're not sharing. I can't tell you how many customers I have who are like, oh, absolutely not. We're not writing a blog because we don't want to know, we don't want our customers, we don't want our competitors to come and steal our business. People that literally 2 days ago told me they will not go on LinkedIn. I'm not doing it. I'm like, I can't help you. I literally just absolutely said, like, I cannot help you if that's really going to be your mindset. If you really believe, because truly and again, I'm preaching to the choir a little bit here, but if there's definitely people out there who, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Fine. You don't want to go on LinkedIn. You don't want to share, but everything is great for you. You're giving yourself an A+, then go. Fine. Godspeed to you. But everybody else here is coming from a place of wanting to improve and learn new things. And so, you know, this is why I viewed this as kind of a triangle, is because these things are mutually dependent. They are kind of all in, you know, very tied into one another, because it's almost like you can't really be authentic if you're coming from a place of scarcity, because what we know is scarcity, the major underlying emotion behind scarcity is fear, right? And I don't want to be afraid. Now, granted, I am, you know, I'm not 1 day away from losing my house or anything like that. I feel very blessed for that. I feel very fortunate for that. But, you know, the idea that putting it all out there the way Sherry does, would I want to work for me? Would I want to work with me? Would I want to do business with me? You know, those are, yeah, I mean, yes, of course, you know, so and again, I feel like it's not something that just happens to people naturally. And there is so much about the way we were raised and what we were taught and what we believe that is foundational inside of our, inside of us. So to say that, like, what are some ways that I could create, a more positive mindset? What are some ways that I could be more authentic? What are some ways that I could embrace abundance? I can only tell you that surrounding yourself with positive people is one way, deciding that I come to these things because, as Philomena said, they make me feel better. And what Deb said about me as a coach, and Aleka was talking about how this in some way feels like therapy. I guarantee you, if you talk to any of my clients who I coach, they would say that at least 10 minutes of the session feels like therapy, because I am talking about how they feel. And I am talking about what they think, and I am talking about what they want, right? Because all of that is informed. What we want, how we think, how we feel is how we get up in the morning. It's Jessica deciding that she's going to change those habits and eat better. It's all connected. It's all very mutually dependent. And we as an industry are very mutually dependent on one another. We learn from one another. We're there for one another. We want to help one another, and the people that engage with us, the people that decide whether or not to work with us, they see it coming. They see it coming a mile away. So again, to Deb's point, like, she's always told me she can smell a sales pitch at 50 paces, and it's like, but
It's
so
the
that
look in their eyes. That's how I know.
And I've had this conversation very many times with people. And again, there's so much more about, like, the medium, which way, where you're communicating and what's appropriate. But I was helping this guy understand that, like, it's enough and a full communication to say, I thought you would find this article interesting. Full stop. And it's not, and I can help you do it, right? And this is, again, what Deborah taught me: education for education's sake. Education, not edu-selling. That's authentic. Educating your constituents, educating your audiences. Like when Sherry is constantly saying, I am here for you, I will help you. Anybody looking for a job, reach out to me. Anytime I get on one of these calls, I write down all the names of the attendees, because if I'm not connected to Christine, I'm going to be like, Christine, we were just on a call together and you're the best, right? I just connected with somebody after our council call last night that we had discussed. And, it's sort of one of those, sometimes we go, like I was just saying, like, where has Sherry been all our lives? How did we not know about her? And where has Krista been all our lives? Like, it's almost like we've all been in this industry for 20 or 30 years, but we're just meeting each other. Not you, Brianna, you're just still a baby. But, this is it. I mean, it's like, this group here is the embodiment of positive mindset and abundance and authenticity. And so I'm going to keep evangelizing those things because I know it's getting me where I want to be. And hopefully, in whatever it is that you're doing. And again, I want to emphasize, this is about also how you behave with your colleagues, because it does rub off on people. Having a good attitude and a good mindset really does rub off on people, even if they're like, ugh, you're always in a good mood. Ugh, you always find the good way to look at something. I have friends say that to me all the time, or, ugh, you're too nice. I'm like, I'll take all of those things. That's fine. I'll take it. So, Aleka.
I like to think of the positive of this whole pandemic, meeting and interacting with this group. And hopefully we have the power to change how we do business, the way it doesn't become this scripted pitch that's generic, that's unfeeling, that we add ourselves into the communication, the dialogue. I like to be consultative. I want to get to know you. And then we can decide if we can do business together. And if we can help you, great. If not, we can give each other referrals. I hope that is the sign of what's to evolve, not just my company does blah, 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 and I can do blah, 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 without even taking any heed in what you want.
Yep.
I'm sorry?
That's still going on.
It is still going on.
I know. I see it. And it's
I would just say I haven't seen any women doing it. Just an observation.
I know.
So true. Sherry, do you want to tell us what you say about the pitch?
Ditch the bitch.
This is a good one. No, it's a
Stop
good one.
pitching.
Stop
Stop
pitching.
pitching. Start pitching in.
I tell you, she's like a t-shirt. She is like a t-shirt and button. It's so good. So good. Stop pitching. Start pitching in. I love it. So good.
So Kelly, I'll add a little kumbaya to your kumbaya because Kelly and I usually differ on this, as you can tell. By the way, I believe all of this stuff. It just manifests in different ways for me, and in that now, oh God, it happened again. I lost my train of thought. It happens often.
No, you were talking about how you were going to pitch in some kumbaya. You were going to add, because
Yes.
you're normally like, Kelly, it's too kumbaya.
It is too
And now-
kumbaya. Okay, thank you. You got me back. Okay, karma. I do believe in karma. I also believe that if you actually authentically help people just for the sake of helping people, it comes back to you and people come to help you. I can say this because I've experienced it for the last 10 years. I would not be in any position I'm in if other people did not help me. In turn, I help other people. The more people I help, the more people want to help me help people. And that is how I can create a viable community, not only to serve, but that also serves me, meaning some of those people contribute to me living somehow, and now to Kelly's mindset topic here, easily I could have said 3 months ago, well, now I can't help everybody else. I've just got to focus on helping myself and keeping my lights on and screw everybody else. And I'll write content for whoever wants me to write content. And I'll, help anybody who wants to be helped with social media. And I'll just do all the things that I have slowly, weeded myself off doing for all these years and focusing on the things I want to do instead. But I consciously didn't do that. I consciously said that to me, my relationship and my credibility with the audience is my authenticity. And if I come out of that for selfish purposes, which would be selfish purposes myself, even though you would say self-preservation isn't a selfish thing, but there's a way to keep your authentic self-preserve and still keep with who you are, what the expectation of you is if people are going to interact with you. A lot of people, as you could probably imagine, contact me on LinkedIn and ask me questions or ask me, for a referral or for help or for something. When I answer them, a lot of people are surprised when I answered them. I'm like, well, it says intergalactic ambassador to the Printerverse. I gave myself that title. This is my job. Of course I'm going to answer you. And regardless of what's going on in my day, that has nothing to do with the fact that somebody came to me and asked me for help, and I am making a decision right now if I'm going to help them or not. And if I decide I'm going to help them, then they're getting my full help, regardless of the fact that I'm not getting money for it, regardless of the fact that it's not going to lead to something else ever. They might not ever talk to me again. Their experience of me is going to be the experience I want them to have of me, whether or not I'm making money that day. So that is a little kumbaya. It's pretty kumbaya for me. Yeah.
And it 100% speaks to the idea that these things all feed one another. That you
For
keeping
me,
your
it
word
does.
all the time, eventually it will again, right?
Yes.
I mean, eventually it will again.
Right. Well, I
And-
just want to add one more thing. Kelly and I do also have the 4 agreements in common. I don't know if you've ever, you ladies have ever seen that book or the list. There's just 4 agreements. And one of them is be impeccable with your word. And that if that is the experience that people have of you, then that will carry you through regardless of the storm, regardless of the boat that you're in. But look, you can look it up online. You don't have to get the book. You could just get the list of the 4 agreements.
Yeah. It's, I mean, we are at, I know as, oh, bye, Christine. Bye. As it was funny, Lisa mentioned, we need a lot more time on this. And I think, you know, as many of these as I've done, I always was super nervous and, you know, bunged up about it beforehand, thinking, am I going to have enough to cover the time? And am I going to have the right things to say? And then I reminded myself of the audience and I said, you have nothing to be nervous about. These are the best people you know. So, but
Are
yeah,
you still doing your weekly meetings or?
No, I kind of took the summer off from them. I think I will resume those in the fall for sure. Still, as you were saying about, you know, the reality of you know, what looks to be probably hybrid school in the fall. Just trying to.
Right.
Ram Dass is my big thing here right now. Be here now. Like just worry about right this minute. It's all that other stuff is going to take care of itself. So,
but for future use, if you're not connected with Kelly, it would be a good idea to connect with her and find out when she will be having her her weekly meetings again.
Yes.
And because we did miss the beginning of the presentation, if it's okay with everybody, I'll give Kelly the registration list and she can send out her slides to anyone who's interested and make contact. I'm not sure, did you have any, did you want to wrap it up there?
Well, no, I mean, this was, you know, this was a little outside of my comfort zone as far as taking concepts that are a little bit more, you know, ethereal and making them applicable. And it was really fun doing the research about this too, because it, you know, again, I can't stress enough how important the authenticity piece is as the people we engage with continue somehow miraculously to keep getting younger and younger, and how we all just stay where we are right now. But it really, really, truly is important. And it's also very freeing. You know, it's very freeing to just be who you are. And again, that's why, you know, it's also interconnected, because believing, as you said, it's almost the karma of what comes around goes around, and you give and you get. And that is, it's true. So I do really appreciate everyone's participation. I knew we'd have great discussion because we have great people that show up to these and are committed to these. So it's best part of my week. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Kelly. I'd like to remind everybody that our schedule for August is up on girlswhoprint.net. We have another full month of programming. I guess this is going to continue. We weren't sure, but getting very popular. I did mention in the beginning that our Fierce Fabulous Friday events are open to gentlemen now who they were complaining a lot that they couldn't come to these because they were so good and they felt left out. So we decided to open it up. So make sure that you know that you can invite your gentleman colleagues and connections should you so choose. And just thanks again to Kelly Mallozzi. You know, please, if you're not in the Girls Who Print group, please join it on LinkedIn, tell your friends. And the Girls Who Print .net site has links to the Women's Print mentoring network, as well as links to all of our other social media. We are always looking for people who want to contribute to the blog, the woman who said, I'm sorry, was it Betty?
That was Betty, yeah.
It was Betty. Betty, you want to blog? We've got a place for you to blog, and I just want to reiterate that I share those blogs through my social media channels. If anyone's interested in that sort of global exposure, you know, it's an easy way to get some. Of course, when, you know, it's got to be relevant content, but really, thank you authentically from the bottom of my heart for showing up, keeping these conversations going, and keeping, you know, we're all in this together is not just something that became a hashtag in my life anytime recently. It's how I live. So thank you for all being in this together with me. And Kelly, thank you so much for your time and your thought leadership. Really, really appreciate it.
It was an honor. Thank you.
Cheers, everyone. Have a great weekend.